Hello, everybody. My name is Nicole Rosu, and I'm part of the product management team here at Cochrane Supply. I'd like to thank you for joining us for the Smart Building Seminar as well as new CIPer Model 50 controller. We ask that our participants make sure that you are muted during this presentation, that we have limited interruptions, and that you please keep your questions until the end. Thank you in advance for your participation, and I'd now like to turn it over to our presenter, Mark, from Honeywell today.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. It's a pleasure being here this morning, and I really appreciate the invitation and be given the opportunity to talk about our new CIPer Model 50 controller. So with that, I just want to briefly mention that I'm the product manager at Honeywell for our controller products. So I have responsibility for our legacy products, such as Spiders, Strikers, the XL families, as well as new product introductions, including the CIPer family. So the Model 50 is our current and most active product at this point. And so we're very, very excited to be sharing that information with you today. Just a quick overview on what it is I want to cover today. I'm going to talk briefly, provide you information with regard to what is the CIPer Model 50 controller. Also going to spend some time talking about the panel bus communications driver and the input-output capabilities of the controller, as well as the panel bus I/O modules themselves that are supported. Briefly touch on the macro library. That is something that right now has a Centraline brand, but that will be expanded to support the Webb's brand as well. And I'll close and talk briefly about the CBUS driver and adapter module as well. We'll talk just, again, very, very briefly about that, but the main focus today is going to be on the CIPer Model 50, the panel bus I/O driver, as well as the I/O expansion modules themselves. All right, so I'm going to get into the kind of the nitty-gritty. What is this the CIPer Model 50? First off, I do need to let you know that CIPer stands for Controller IP. If you haven't already determined what or figured out what that nomenclature was, CIPer refers to a family of IP controllers, of which Model 50 is one of them, and this is the first one that we're launching. So you're going to see other CIPer models kind of filling out the family here in the next weeks and months as well. So what is the 50? The 50 is really a JACE and a BACnet controller in one, and it has approximately the same power and memory of a Webb's or JACE 8000. Some of the key differences are that you do have onboard as well as detached a display option, so human-machine interface option, which is configurable. So you can, as the installer, you can configure that to provide basic information and then provide a lock so that it only provides a couple of screens of information, really depending on what you prefer to do with it and what access you want to provide to the end user. The Model 50 has 26 onboard I/O points, which do include relays for the discrete outputs. The terminal blocks themselves are using what is termed the quick push-in connectors. There are 2 common I/O terminals, 2 onboard Ethernet ports, standard RJ45 jacks, 2 onboard RS45 serial communication ports, and you have, which gives you the ability to have that expandable I/O with panel bus adapters. And there's also an optional DIN rail LAN adapter that you can use this to support LAN applications. And you also have the IP USB access as well, as you can see here on the front of the unit. All right, on the display, I mentioned that you can buy these with the integral display, or you can buy one without the display. and have a remote mounted optional display. So, and one of the questions that has repeatedly come up is, if I buy and install a Model 50 without the integrated display, can I add the external remote display at a later time? And the answer is yes. How it connects to the Model 50 is that RJ45 jack. So it plugs right into that. It's just a jack. The remote display itself can be panel mounted. It can be surface mounted. You may want to, maybe you only want to use it for configuring and setup and as a maintenance or commissioning tool. That's certainly an option for you as well. But it's network independent. We do provide you with configurable menus as well as menu content. It's fairly intuitive. I was even able to figure this out myself without too much prodding, and it's fairly cost effective. So it's not a $1,000 add-on shiny bright object. It is actually a fairly economical add-on option. So what can you get from the display itself? You've got a series of standard buttons that provides you home, schedule, and back. You also have 3 soft buttons that are configurable. You have a rotating selection knob, and of course the backlit LCD screen itself. And so how do you configure this and how do you set this up? This is done in Niagara under this HmiService. And you can drag and drop your points and schedules. You can access this fast point list and you can rename that. You can also access the alarm list feature if you want that data displayed on your screen. And you also have your general settings. And also, and this is probably very important, you can set this up and provide user access, but make it PIN protected. So you can, in fact, lock out your end user from reconfiguring that display if you so choose. Moving on to the license for the Model 50, the license is included with the product. The software maintenance agreement is also included, and that is not time limited. It provides you support for all of the Niagara N4 releases. So that SMA covers all the N4 releases from 4.4 up to 4.x. And so that you are covered with that SMA for the entire duration of Niagara 4. In terms of the drivers and features that the license provides you, provides you with the Niagara Fox as well as Fox S, which is the secure encrypted controller to controller and controller to supervisor protocol and embedded workbench. Also provides the panel bus I/O module support, BACnet, LAN, and Modbus drivers. And just want to make mention here, and there's a note, the BACnet IP as well as the BACnet MSTP points do not count against your license limits. In terms of the devices that base license supports, you can add up to 64 panel bus expansion I/O modules. Those are included. You can also add a total of 5 other devices including the CIPer Model 50. So that would count as a device, and then you could have 4 other devices connected to your Model 50 on this base license. In terms of the point count, you get 100 standard points. I call them, they're more universal points. So it's BACnet, LAN, Modbus, your onboard I/O, as well as your panel bus. Now I know as a plant controller, that may be somewhat limiting, but you do have the ability to upgrade to the point license adder options, and you can add in increments of 50, or if you want to go all out, you could add a 255 point license. We recently had a beta that was done in Canada, and they had over 540 points on a single controller with some panel bus I/O modules, and we ended up selling them providing them the Model 50 with the base license and 2 of the 255 point adder options, and it worked out very well, and certainly more than met their needs and provided them with some additional capacity if there were changes in the future. All right, some of you are probably familiar with the panel bus I/O modules. This is just a kind of a pictorial representation of the panel bus physical modules themselves, as well as the driver. It does provide discrete I/O. It is an RS-485 serial communication bus. These are DIN rail mountable. You can connect them together with you can see the connector bridge in the diagram, so they can be linked together on a single DIN rail. And there are screw terminals as well as I/O commons. This also provides you, and this I think is very important, you have the hand-off auto options for analog outputs, relay outputs, as well as feedback. And I think that's very important and a good distinction to make that some of our competitors do not offer the hand-off auto features. Also provides the fail-safe position for the outputs, and in the smaller inset picture, you can see that you do have hot swappable modules. So I personally don't recommend doing it, but we've done it, and you do have the capability of hot swapping modules if you choose to do so. And the inputs themselves, they're relatively high resolution. They're full 16-bit input resolution, A to D input resolution. So they're pretty good units. As you may be aware, these panel bus modules, they tend to be very robust. I would say, in my mind, I look at these as almost more of an industrial I/O module than just a commercial I/O module. They're very robust. They've been around for a while, and we have no plans of discontinuing these modules. They're very, very popular modules. They're tough, they're reliable, they work. And this one is just showing an example of a mixed I/O instead of a dedicated I/O. Again, it's another panel bus module option, and you have the ability to pick one that does not have HOAs. So if you have an application where you don't want to have that ability, you can certainly do so. You can configure a system to do that. Needless to say, there's a multitude of different panel bus I/O modules available to support many different applications and project requirements. In terms of the driver itself, this is a Honeywell Webs exclusive built in within the Niagara driver. So you've got the Discover devices, Discover points, the configure of the points, including the type, failsafe, noise filter. You have all of that ability, and that is unique to Honeywell Webs. And just showing you a typical screen configuration for the for I/O programming. We talk about the macro library. The macro library was originally developed for the Centraline brand. We are bringing that into Honeywell Webs, and that is also something that is going to be very, very unique for Webs. And again, Centraline was gracious enough to provide us these macro libraries for use in Honeywell Webs. The idea or the intent behind the macro library is to provide the programmers and commissioners the ability to configure these projects and get the program loaded into the controllers, get them commissioned, and get off the job quicker so that you can get on to the next one. The idea is to make the programming and installation team more effective and more efficient in their jobs and fulfilling these projects so they can get onto the next one a little faster. Now I wanted to show you, this is a typical Niagara kit control chilled water plant logic example. And what we're trying to show you here is there are 10 wire sheets that were used to configure this chilled water plant example. And as you know, that takes up a significant amount of programming time, and which cost additional money. So what if we gave you the ability to do it with one wire sheet using that the chilled water plant library? Now instead of 10 wire sheets, you've got that same configuration at that same level of complexity and I/O point count. You're doing it in one wire sheet versus 10. So again, the idea here is that it's going to save money through saving programming and installation and commissioning time. One wire sheet versus 10. That is a pretty significant time savings, which again is, I think, easily translatable into a positive financial impact. And this is just showing you that these macros are just one click away with built-in help. This is just showing you a brief example for cooling control. All right. So we've talked about the programming. We've talked about the macro library and the advantages it provides you. And this next screen that I'm showing you, it's looking at kind of a controller comparison. And if you look across the top, you've got our current SPIDER. You have a future, what we call a room monitor product. That is slated to be our next generation MSTP controller. That is in development. I don't have a lot of details other than to say the plan for that product is to potentially be a second generation SPIDER type product in terms of functionality, in terms of features, benefits, as well as the cost and pricing model, along with some additional features that the SPIDER only wish it could possibly have. So that's what that IRM column refers to. The CIPer Model 10, that is based on the Tritium Edge 10 product. This is the Webb's branded version or variant of that. The middle one here in the yellow heading is the CIPer Model 30. Some of you may have heard this. That had the engineering development name of F1. We have the former Eagle AX product, and then we have the CIPer Model 50, which we're focusing on today. The CIPer Model 50 is basically it's the Eagle N4. So it's based on the Eagle AX form factor, but it's the N4 implementation and integration. And then on the far right, you have the J, so you have the Webb's 8000. But the table here is to give you a general understanding of what the various I/O count capabilities are from controller to controller. If there is a VAV pressure and integrated actuator offering, what type of I/O expansion is being used or is compatible with, what digital wall modules is it compatible with. And I will say that for our CIPer 30 and CIPer 50 products, we are also doing the programming to support the new TR and TS120 series color wall module. So that's definitely in the works. I know that's a question that has come up repeatedly. The integrated display, you can see the only one of all of these that offers that integrated display or remote is the CIPer Model 50. The number of RS-45 communication ports, download required. You can see the SPIDER has a long download time frame. The other devices do not. The CIPer Model 30 and the CIPer Model 50, as well as the CIPer Model 10, have near instantaneous update capabilities, so there's not a separate download and power cycling required. Venom apps, you can see which of the products use or are compatible with Venom apps. Same with kit control, the macro library access, fast start capabilities, and also what wireless compatibility there is. But again, the idea is just to give you a general understanding, where does Model 50 fit with all the web controllers, and how does it contrast or compare to the other controllers under the Webs brand. All right, so that in a nutshell is kind of the Model 50, and I'm going to spend just a couple minutes talking a little bit about this CBUS driver. And really, it's designed to provide you a physical connection between CBUS and a virtual CBUS over the LAN communication protocol to Niagara N4. So it's really designed for your legacy system. So the XL5000 CBUS with a standard RS-45 serial connection is integratable through LAN using that IF LAN interface to allow you to, instead of rip and replace, you can utilize a given site's existing XL5000 infrastructure, and you can do the control upgrade without having to rip and replace. So it's a pretty powerful system, and I wish I had we had a picture from a site in New York State, and they had a complete control cabinet, and there were XL5000, and they had literally hundreds of I/O points in there and panel bus I/O, and they took the CBUS module, and with that CBUS module, they went and used all that existing I/O without having to do any rewiring, and were able to bring it right into a CIPer Model 50. So it's a way to provide your customers the ability to upgrade their legacy systems to a newer control protocol or new control technology without having to rip and replace. So this is just a pictorial representation of that. So the idea is to give you the ability to migrate into newer systems that gives you the ability to have full Niagara N4 access and all the tools and the features and benefits that come with that technology.
Well, we appreciate your participation in this WebEx. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to your local Cochrane Supply, and we hope you'll join us on one of our many upcoming building seminars. Please make sure you subscribe to our mailing list by visiting CochraneSupply.com so you don't miss any of these future invitations. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.